Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Military TV. In today's session, we're going to talk about a superior jet fighter, the Sukhoi Su-34 from Russia. If you're curious about what this combat aircraft is capable of, look forward to this video and stay tuned. With the NATO reporting name Fullback, the Sukhoi Su-34 is perhaps one of Russia's most advanced and capable all-weather jet fighters. It is capable of ground, surface, and air attack. Not only that it is being seen active in a region like Syria, the Su-34 is also being used to strategically defend Russian national interest in the Arctic. First, let's take a look at the history of the Sukhoi Su-34. Historically, the development of the Sukhoi Su-34 was a complex process. Sukhoi began developing a new multirole combat aircraft to replace the swing-wing Su-24 in the mid-1980s. Then selected the Su-27 due to its excellence in maneuverability and range, and also because its capability in carrying a large payload, an important aspect for the new fighter-bomber. The aircraft was specifically developed from T-10KM-2, the naval trainer derivative of the Sukhoi Su-27K. Subsequently labeled as Su-27KU by Western intelligence, the aircraft then made its maiden flight on April 13, 1990. Retaining the main undercarriage of previous Su-27s, it was a prototype for the Su-27IB and was developed at the same time as the two-seat naval trainer, the Su-27KUB, which surprisingly is not directly related with Su-27IB. On February 13, 1992, Su-27IB was officially introduced at Makulishi, where Russian leader Boris Yeltsin was holding a summit. The Su-27IB was again displayed at the MAX Air Show the following year. The next prototype of the aircraft, which was built at Novosibirsk, was totally different from the original prototype. It had modified vertical stabilizers, and also a longer stinger which was capable of housing an N012 rearward-facing warning radar, plus the drag chute as well as fuel jettison outlet. The first aircraft constructed with all these features made its first flight on December 28, 1994. Due to its particular differences from the earlier versions of the prototypes, it was then redesignated as the Su-34. However, the Russians categorized this aircraft as Su-32FN designation at the 1995 Paris Air Show, signaling its potential role as a shore-based naval aircraft for the Russian naval aviation. It is also known that Sukhoi promoted the Su-34 as the Su-32MF, which stands for multifunction. Plans to modernize the Su-34 have been stated by Russia's Ministry of Defense through the deputy head of the military department, Yuri Borisov. He said that the modernization of the aircraft mainly will be focused on how to extend its service life and increase the number of airborne weapons, since it is believed that the aircraft was in great demand in Russian armed forces and it has a good future prospect. Russia is reportedly developing two new versions of the aircraft, one for electronic warfare and one for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Now let's take a look at the design and features of Su-34. The Su-34 is a twin-engine, all-weather bomber ground attack aircraft meant for combat against naval and ground-based targets. It shares most of the structures of its wing, tail, and engine with the Su-27 and Su-30. The cockpit of Su-34 is arranged side by side, in which the pilot and co-pilot or navigator sit next to each other. The access to the cockpit is possible through a built-in stepladder that connects the landing gear to the rear of the cockpit. Cited from the Sukhoi website, the cockpit is large enough to allow the pilot to stand up inside. What's more, it is also apparently roomy enough for one of the two pilots to lie down, and there is also a toilet and a small galley inside. With considerable titanium plating, the cockpit capsule is additionally protected against small weapons and anti-aircraft fire. The airframe and other aircraft components are likewise armored. The Su-34 carries a 30mm gun for ground assault, in addition to 12 hardpoints on the wings and fuselage for various bombs and missiles. The Su-34 is an unusual aircraft for several reasons. The Su-34 combines the high payload and range of a medium or long-range bomber with the maneuverability of a fighter in addition to its duckbill-shaped fuselage. The aircraft is reputedly known within the Russian military as duckling or duckbill. The Su-34's three-surface design is largely to blame for this. That is, in addition to the wings and tail surfaces that create lift, there are two canard lifting surfaces located close behind the cockpit that offer additional lift to help with maneuverability. The prominent tail boom on the back of the fuselage is one of the Su-34's most visible features. This boom hosts a brake parachute, auxiliary power unit, additional fuel, as well as a smaller rear-facing radar antenna with the function of warning the pilots if there are any incoming threats like missiles. According to several rumors, Su-34 has conducted its combat debut during the 2008 Russo-Georgian War. In July 2010, a number of Su-34s and Su-24Ms performed a 6,000-kilometer non-stop flight from the European Russia's air bases to the easternmost part of Russia. This exercise involved the aircrafts carrying weapons at full load and the conduct of simulation of attack delivery on certain targets, and notably showcased the Su-34's long-range capability. For this exercise, the aircrafts were refueled, and different from the Su-24Ms, which were refueled 3 times, Su-34s were only refueled twice. On November 24, 2015, a Turkish Air Force F-16 fighter jet fatally shot down a Russian Sukhoi Su-24M attack aircraft near the Syria-Turkey border. Following this, Russia announced that all Su-34s which had begun flying combat operations in Syria were already armed with air-to-air missiles. With the significant presence of Su-34 in Syria as a fighter-bomber, the aircraft also seems to gain more prominence to support Russia's Arctic ambitions. There has been a speculation about how Su-34 could be intended to invigorate Russia's defense in the Arctic through the recent construction on Russia's Arctic islands. A source from Danish intelligence assessed how the Russian aircraft at some of Russia's northernmost bases are skilled enough to reach the airspace over northeastern Greenland with limited prior warning, including the bases hosting the Su-34s. From a geopolitical perspective, this condition could endanger NATO as well as American interest in the region, since the combat capability of Russian aircrafts allows them to reach Thule Air Base, a key installation in the U.S. space and missile defense architecture. So, with the characteristics and capability that it owns, is the Su-35 worth every penny that Russia has spent on them? Well, the single fact that the platform has successfully conducted missions in different regions in the world does prove that it is a very capable aircraft. With its large body, rear tail boom, and extra fuel capacity, it has relatively excellent range, and of course, very maneuverable. Though it lacks some of the stealthy characteristics compared to other fighter bombers, it is still feared by some of its competitors, and that would translate into the fact that Sukhoi Su-34 probably won't go away and be replaced anytime soon. That's all for today. We hope you enjoyed the video, and see you in the next episode.